honor with the child at home, because you use the child, the natural setting, to modify the child's language and expand on the child's language. So you can use each situation as a means of language stimulation. And I will also be giving a lot of examples on how you can use or stimulate language, speech and language in the child in the house, and what events you can use. Examples are situational. For example, cooking. The child can actually have a lot of interaction with the mother, the father. You can have the grandmother involved, grandparents involved, the siblings involved. So you can, you all can take turns. The whole family can take turns in setting up various situations for the child to learn language. So here, for example, if you see, the grandmother here is sitting with the granddaughter, and they're actually mixing flour and using a rolling pin and straighten out the flour. So you have a lot of ingredients there, which you can mix together. So you say, name the objects, name the ingredients: water, flour, rolling pin, the board, and whatever you're making. So name each one and just give the child an opportunity to repeat what you are saying, or even form the lips to that position of the word, or yeah, just encourage that behavior. So another situation is when you're feeding the child. So many times parents sit in front of the TV or give the mobile in the child's hand while feeding. But the right way to do it is to face the child directly and talk to the child while feeding. Avoid sitting next to the child facing avoid sitting next to the child facing the TV or use of mobile, because the child is not going to respond to your voice, but rather will focus on the TV or the mobile. You can also, when you're feeding the child, have these gadgets off, and you can actually look directly at the child, have a eye contact, face-to-face interaction, and just say yum yum. Show tongue movements of smacking or licking the lips, chewing action. You can talk about softy food, texture of the food and things like that. These are just examples. And while you're doing that, please listen and observe. Give your child a chance to communicate. Don't give them what they need or want until they communicate that to you. I know that many children throw temper tantrums, but sometimes giving food, toys, mobile, etc., without asking for it decreases the need to communicate. So, for example, if the child points to water and has not learned the word water yet, you can actually name the target word. Oh, you want water. So the parent says, okay, let's get you some water. Here, water for you. So when you have used this word, particular word, water, which is the target word in this example, because the child has pointed, you have to that particular object, water. You said, oh, you named it. You want water. Let's get you some water. Here, water for you. So you've used the word 3 times. And when the child attempts to speak, listen and wait for the child to respond, because sometimes, of course, mothers have a lot of housework and a lot of work they're involved in. They have other children. And this webinar is not to target the mother, but to actually involve the entire family in speech and language stimulation and speech therapy at home. So when the child when the child attempts to speak, so you prompt the words. If the child says wa, you just shape that word and expand it. Yes, water, water. So prompting sounds and words. You can actually, like how I just gave you the example, you can prompt the sounds and words. If the target is water, the parent will say the word water. If the child responds by mouthing wa, reinforce it by so many things like nodding, smiling, saying yes, yes, water, water. So you expand it, exaggerate it, and say it slowly so the child can pick up, because child is actually listening and processing what you're saying. So the goal is to at least get the initial sound for the target word. The parent shapes and expands the sound produced by the child into the target word. There are other activities like laying the table. You can do laying the table for dinner, for lunch. So you have a few objects. I don't know what objects you use. I've just put these objects but you can actually name the objects that you use, the vessels you use for feeding or laying the table. So we all have spoons and plates. We have also a tumbler. So, and then we have dishes of food. So now you can make your child put the child's own plate, glass, spoon on the table and name each item. So then you can also expand that a little more into laying each one plate for each family member, one tumbler for each family member, spoon, whatever. And then you can actually also label the dishes that you lay on the table. So point to, okay, you're going to put rice or mamam, and whatever you use, you can actually start introducing a lot of words. So you can say, let's place the bowl of rice, then curry. What curry are you going to have? You can name the curry. You can say rotis, chapatis that you're laying out. Then you can also practice turn taking, because it's very important. The idea is not to make the child keep talking like a parrot, but then the child also has to learn to have a good conversation. A conversation is mixed with, or actually constitutes, turn taking. So you can actually even practice saying, first mama will put the plate, now you put the glass. Or you can say, first mama will do it, then you do it. So let the child imitate your behavior. You can also use situations or events like this, washing hands, where you can actually sing nursery rhymes saying wash, 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 and make up your own songs, and let the child know that when they go to the, so we're all talking about water here. So this, just the target word. So the target word can be used in different situations, not just sit, come and say water, water, and just give them a glass of water. So you can also take the child, pick their own clothes and put in the washing machines. You're going to wash, wash, wash. So washing hands, washing clothes. You can ask the child to pick out their own clothes. But all through these activities, keep talking and listening for a response. So instead of us just keeping on talking, say something, wait, listen, and just look for any gesture or any way of the child beginning to talk or even trying to attempt to speak. So each family member can be involved in these activities, not the mother alone. So each activity can be done on separate days. You don't have to pack the whole day with all these activities, because the child is not going to cooperate also. Knowing your child, you can actually pace these kind of activities. You can target this maybe over a week. You can span it out, space it out. So again, bath time, the target water. Let the child feel the water. Let the child feel the pressure of the water as you keep talking to him or her about water. Then you can have some water games, just splashing water, and give the hand faucet or the shower or the mug to the child. Let the child focus on pouring water into the parent's hands. You can also play with toys in the water. Make animated sounds during bath time, like ducky in the water goes quack, quack. I'm just making up my stuff. So you can actually have your own rhymes. You can have your own little songs, and children just love action songs. So both parents can be involved. It's not the mother alone again. So even the older siblings can take part in this, because it actually takes the pressure of the mother. Another activity that you can have is give a bottle of water or a jug of water to the child, or just a tumbler of water to the child, and ask the child to pour from this glass to the other glass, and so on. Even take the child out to the garden and let them feel, you can just, these are some of the activities I'm naming, but when you work hand in hand with the therapist, you'll have a lot more, a list of words, and you can work on each word separately and not cram them up together. So space them out, talk to the SLP, and work on them at home, because see, the session that the child attends for speech therapy is just 40 minutes or 45 minutes maximum, and the rest of the day the child is with you in the house. So there are a lot of things, because I've had some relatives of mine also say that my child is 3 years old, but she's not talking. I was very surprised that at 3 years of age the girl wasn't talking. So I said, who's with the child at home, who spends maximum time? Of course it was the mother. And I said, what is your routine, how much time do you spend with the child? She said, oh, the child was with me the whole day. But I said, do you have any situation where you play with the child, talk to the child? She said, no. I was very surprised. I said, I know you're doing your work, but you need to spend time, you need to communicate with the child. And once the mother started doing this, the child picked up in no time. So it's just inadequate language stimulation that happens most of the time at home. So children often try to imitate Shakespeare on action songs with the target word. Children often point to objects and turn towards the parent to see if you're looking in the same direction. Now respond by naming the object. When the child looks at you and points, name the object. If the child looks at your mouth, name it again, this time slower and with more exaggeration. So observe the child's mouth to see if the child is trying to imitate you, or imitate your mouth movement. And if yes, allow the child to finish saying or repeat the word. The other activity you could do is shopping. Please notice how the child is placed in the cart. Uh, the child is placed facing the mother, and the mother is also talking. So in this picture, I've just put a picture, but you can actually carry this out to the child in the shopping cart, and you can actually let the child also pick whatever, get the apple, because they understand a lot, but they don't express very often. So you can allow the child to pick objects or items, and maybe fruits. If you're working on fruits, just take them to the fruit section, pick out the grapes, pick out the apple. Whatever you're working on, you can actually ask the child to pick that item, and name the item when the child is picking. Whatever the child is picking, just name the item. Another problem is screen time. Now, there are various reasons for handing over a mobile to the child because of too much of housework, and the child is just fussing around. So you just want to keep the child quiet. So you give the mobile or tablet to them, and then to keep them quiet. And the child loves the mobile or tablet, so he fusses and he just wants it. So you give it to the child. And you also sometimes need time for yourself because you're so tired, and then the list just goes on. So this is a very dangerous thing. This can actually reduce, um, decrease language stimulation and learning language. And this will be actually spoken about by the next speaker about screen time. uh, but the right way to actually use any gadget is allow the gadget with the parent for a limited time, and you can even use it as a reinforcer for achieving the target activity. So don't just give it to the child, but you can use that maybe for half an hour or maybe 5 minutes, then go on to the next activity. So language stimulation can be done while playing also. So here you have to actually position yourself sitting not just next to the child but in front of the child. Maintain eye contact with the child, and so this actually builds playtime, or actually build contact, increasing sitting behavior, building attention span on one particular activity or any activity, and compliance. How the child is very compliant when you change the activity, or does the child want to stick to only one activity? So you can also let the child ask you for a toy or a book. So you're giving chances to the child to communicate. Then you can also build on turn taking. So many things can be done during playtime. So this again will be spoken about by my colleague. She's got some excellent activities again for that you can use to build attention span, eye contact, a lot of things. All of these actually will be targeted by her. And even reading stories. Now, all family members can be involved and they can participate together. They can even take turns. This is fun time for the family, and this actually helps bonding the family together. Because of our work, sometimes we're so distanced, but we can, whole family can sit together, make it very interactive. Open a book, name the objects or persons in the story, then ask the child to point to the person or the object you name. Where is the boy? Where is Jill? Where is Jack? You can just ask, let the child point. Then you ask questions, read the story, and then you ask questions. So let the child come up with answers, anything. And then involve the child in flipping the pages. Say, turn the pages, turn this page, next page. So this keeps them occupied. Instead of taking the book and throwing it around or tearing the pages, they can actually, because many children love story time. So you can have this as a very good activity as well. You can also have family reading time, and even siblings. Sometimes the older siblings can be involved in this if the parents are too busy. I think story time, if it's there as a part of everyday activity, it'll be great. So if the parents are working, and if there's a lot of work, the older siblings can take over. So I'd like to conclude by saying a lot more can be added to speech language stimulation at home. Family cooperation is vital for learning to communicate. The child has many more opportunities to learn language. And by this, I also mean that I only see a lot of mothers coming with their children for therapy. But if the mother goes back and discusses with the family for maybe just 15 minutes every day about speech therapy and how the whole family can be involved in that, it'll be great. It'll actually make the child's progress quicker. You can the parents can also write down the child's progress at home and discuss with the SLP. This will really help progress. And parent-child interaction or family-child interaction is vital to speech and language development. And so my topic is to involve the whole family in speech therapy and not just one family member. A lot more is coming your way, and I hope you really enjoyed this webinar. You have topics on screen time, reading, playtime, and feeding, and then we have some time for question and answers. So with this, I thank you for listening to me patiently, and I hope you really enjoy your time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a comprehensive presentation, and also for highlighting the importance of quality of interaction and role of parents in speech and language, to carry out speech and language activities at home. So now you can leave your questions. If you have any questions, kindly leave it on the chat box. We'll be addressing those questions on the final day of the presentation. Please feel free to do that. Okay, without further delay, we will move to the next topic, next talk, that is screen time and its impact. It will be delivered by Ms. Aishwarya Dinesh, who has completed her bachelor's and master's degree from Manipal College of Health Professions, Manipal University. Her clinical interest is child language disorders and adult language disorders. She recently joined our team, and prior to working at SRCA, she was working at Dr. A.V. Baliga Memorial Hospital in Udupi for a duration of 1.5 years. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sneha ma'am, for that introduction. Yeah, so I'll be talking about screen time, so I'll share my screen. Just let me know if you can see that. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So hello everyone. I'll be talking about screen time here. And yeah, so before that, I would like to put a question in front of all the parents out here. If gadgets are really a window to the external environment. So let's take a deep look into this. This is actually a whole new world. So in one touch, you can access the entire world here. And a lot of people are connected with huge distances across. And mobile phones or any other gadgets have now the capability of being a companion to every human being. And also it is capable of attracting every individual because there are a lot of virtual attractions out there, and because of all these attractions, a person tends to be never left alone. So this is also a good means of communication. as speech therapists, we ourselves are very much, enthusiastic about introducing some communication skills through use of some alternative or augmentative communication devices. But however, the concept that I'll be addressing today will be something little different. So we know that now all these screen usage has become an integral part of everyday life. So most often there is a blurring between, what is the difference between addiction and functional internet usage. So should we really ask ourselves a question if social media can really make us asocial? So introducing the screen time to all of you. This is nothing but the amount of time an individual can spend in using these devices. That can include anything like smartphones, tablets, laptops, or television. So if you can see, there are so many visual attractions that is available. There's gaming availabilities here, and also there is social media usage available. So this is giving you a lot of options. But now I'll be focusing on screen time in children here. And before that, I would like to introduce you to certain exposure possibilities, like what are the reasons that can provoke this exposure in children. So if you can see, nowadays most of the parents are very busy and they would be very frustrated in their life because of this hectic schedules in their life. So they often give away another media usage to the child so that they get preoccupied with that. And many children, to avoid their boredom, because nowadays the stimulations are high, so because of which they keep wanting more and more changes in life, and they cannot stick by one thing. So boredom tolerance has reduced in children. So this method or media is going to aid them with this boredom tolerance. And many parents often want to capture the moments of the child's growth, so they keep exposing them to the the screen. And now there are many options like Instagram or Facebook where they can really display these talents of children, so they keep addressing this in the child's life. And also, another important thing that we have noticed is many of the parents, they tend to have a bargaining nature. Bargaining, by which I mean, if the child is not eating food or if the child is not behaving as per how the parent is in requirement, you can notice that parents often give away this kind of a reinforcement or a reward. Mobile phones are given as a reward. Okay, now you don't cry, you will get a phone. You eat, you will get a phone. So naturally, the reaction to it is now reversed, because once the child starts picking up that, okay, I eat food or I stop crying, I will get a phone, the reaction to that is reversed from the child's end. So only if I get the phone, I will eat the food. So that is how it starts changing. And also for many children, for many older children, maybe in primary or higher primary classes, they search for platforms where they can put all their skills out. So many a times also children spend a lot of time with mobile phones because they want to get rid of loneliness. And parents also keep this as an entertainment option, because if the child is not having a very stimulating environment, then phone is a better option according to them. Also now, the recent times you can see academic platforms are also being released through media or mobile phones. So now I would like to introduce you to age-based observations that we can see with the usage of these media. Most often proud parents, they keep track where they can actually display the child's smartness, like in front of a therapist or in front of any other family member. They might give the child a phone and say that, oh, my child is able to now use phone and is very smart in, finding out different icons and functioning them. So this is one thing that we have noticed. And in toddlers, most often parents give them to keep them quiet in any social gatherings, like if there is a function or if it's a restaurant, so that the child doesn't scream and the child will get preoccupied in this kind of usage. In a little older children, maybe in school age, they can connect themselves to parents or friends when after school or something. So this is how they use it. In high schoolers, you can see that most often they finish their homeworks, and when they finish their homeworks also there will be multiple windows open, because this is that stage where they can access to a lot of social media and things like that. So they will have gaming options, messaging options, all these things will be kept in multiple windows. So high schoolers will have this kind of an exposure, and by teenage they would have mastered a lot of video games. So sitting in different corners of the world, they can have access to different people and play and compete with them. So overall, what we can say is this is the best platform for them to fulfill all their cravings. Like if they can get immediate access to different types of imageries or different types of pictures that probably at that time they feel like seeing or having a food item. They can get to visualize all these things very easily. And most often we can see that there is a parenting where the parents are not really very much involved in understanding what the child is doing. In such circumstances also you can see this. So children who are in requirement of constant stimulation to fulfill their boredom, they also tend to use this. And here, most often they can get approval from a lot of strangers when they give away all this sensation-seeking behaviors. So we should ask a question if screen is actually a lifesaver to many children. So now, also apart from this, parents, despite giving away all these gadgets to the children, they also have a good amount of worry regarding the academic skills of the child, the sleep habits of the child, if the child is going to play outside, if they are really going to pursue sports, whatever they like, or the amount of time they can get to spend with family and friends, and also about the language development of the child. So by 3 years, many parents come to a speech therapist by complaining that the child is not really speaking at this age. But at the same time, we get to notice that the child is very preoccupied with the phones. So there can be definite links which I will be talking about. So most often their fears are if the child is going to be 24/7 connected to the gadgets. So prior to this, now since the current scenario is different for us, I have noticed and read that from 2011 to 2016, the hike in the usage of these gadgets in children have increased. So one reason why it has been observed is because most often the companies that are releasing this kind of media usage often come up with this concept of genius child or baby Einstein and concepts like that. So that is where this concept has actually started, where parents get an opportunity to believe that their child is going to be more smarter with the use of these kind of gadgets. So the best example now is the corona situation, which I can give a better example because you can relate to this situation. We need to ask a question if this was actually a corona period or was it a period of usage of these gadgets. So let me introduce you to the term of lockdown period, what would have happened. So most often parents and children were sitting at home at this period, and they did not really have time for each other because the parents themselves had to work from home, and the work from home situation was much difficult than that of a regular work schedule, because it was easy to work at home until whatever time period they were allotted, and because of which even they could not spend adequate time with children. And also most of the children, they do not get this opportunity to play outside. And currently, in the last few months, online classes also have been initiated. So the child itself is doing work from home now. So all these conditions would have led to a lot of increased usage during this period as well. Also, because of this situation, there is disruption in their education, amount of physical activities they do at home. Then socialization was not so great because they could not really go out to meet their family members or friends or anyone. So their amount of socialization was also reduced. And automatically, all these things have an impact even on their communication skills. Now, let me brief it up as a story. So now there was no infrastructure for child to go outside and go to school and have a regular routine academic work. They did not really have a play period where they could actually meet children of their age and play with them. And no face-to-face or one-on-one discussion with bringing up new ideas. So most of the time, the child has been idle in this situation. So at home, the only thing they require is attention from parents. Now, what has happened is even parents are very much busy in their work. They don't really get to, spend time even at their dinner table or during the bedtime. So the child is also going to be given another media usage so that they can preoccupy themselves by these rhymes or any such cartoons or anything like that. So naturally they also start getting a lot of interest and attachment towards these media devices. So the end result would be that we ourselves cannot pull them out of this situation. So the reaction might be different in infants and older children. So in infants, you can see that they are more attached to the phone. So their social skills are going to be at risk in this kind of condition. Their language abilities will also be delayed. So here in older children, you can see they're more susceptible to vulgar or abuses that they might get through the social media usage. So what does gadgets actually do? So what here I'm going to talk is, there are certain myths that parents believe that, okay, my child is going to gain these many things from, using these gadgets. But what is it in reality? So many a times we think that, okay, the child is going to be more, social by using these phones because they can, get acceptance from more people because they know the usage of this. But however, when it comes to reality, the social exposure of the child is going to be reduced because they do not have peer interactions during this time. And visual entry to the real world. By this I mean the child is going to understand things in a different way. So what the child is going to see in a phone or in a TV is, maybe animals and in cartoons, they might have different colors or they might not look the same how they actually look. So the reality is actually there is a misconception there. So that's what I meant by distorted reality. So this kind of a thing is to be understood. And most often parents believe that, there are lots of applications on the phone that are available where the child can pick up a lot of language skills. But in real, what is happening is when parents themselves can stay as good teachers to, train the child in building up their language skills, the child is actually undergoing a lot of language stimulation problems at home because they do not really understand how to use a language, or they do not get a motivation to speak to another person. So this is one more thing. And few of the studies that I have learned is below 3 years of age, when the child is actually exposed to a screen, there can be a lot of language delays observed in children. Whereas when the child is actually in front of the mother, and when the mother uses certain patterns and intonations and simplified version of communicating to the child, their expressive skills or expressive vocabulary, what we can say, is going to be very much increased in children who are having good face-to-face relationships. So when exhibiting talents here, most of the children, they get an opportunity to put their skills out because the parents are going to upload all these things online. But naturally, what happens is this will start building insecurities in children over time, because the reality is not the same. They get acceptance through gadgets, but maybe in reality, if they are given a correction, they might not be able to accept those things. So, is smartphone really going to bring up a smart child? Well, I think we should ask that question, because developing perceptual and symbolic understanding is that period when you can see by 3 years of age, and even their fine motor skills, like moving their fingers and all that, it is still undergoing a lot of development. Despite that, they keep uncontrollably swiping or tapping on icons. Sometimes they accidentally click on things and things open or close. So they do not really understand how it functions, but still they continue to use it because they get sort of virtual attractions from these things. So also, let's have a final look into this problem. So do parents really have a role in the development of screen behaviors? Definitely yes, because these are learned behaviors. They are not coming from the child as soon as they are born. So they keep seeing how their parents are going to function, and final end result is that they have picked up the concept that maybe phones are something they have to be attached to rather than human beings. So in front of the child, if you're going to use the phone when you're feeding the child or when you're actually supposed to play with the child, the parents would be using these phones. Sometimes even when the child is going to express their problems, parents might show a lot of responsiveness towards attending their problems, and the end result of it might be the frustrations which come through emotional responses or disobedience in the child. Some screen spaces where we can often see the child or the parent getting exposed to this media is academically, when the child is going to have a lot of work to do at home, so they will prefer it having in their bedroom or their study room. So many parents, we have ourselves noticed as speech therapists, when they come for a session or when they're waiting for any maybe at a restaurant or waiting in the hospital, we often see that parents are very much engaged in their own mobile phones. They, even despite sitting next to each other, they might not look and speak and find out what the other parent is going through, or there is no reciprocation there. And when the parents are putting the child to sleep, they take their phones often, and they might also use it to watch their own serials or shows. So to avoid the child crying at that time and to get disturbed, they often give away one more media device to the child so that the child can fall asleep by using that. Even co-viewing is one more factor. Co-viewing meaning when the entire family or the parents, they sit and watch along with the child. So this is one circumstance where they can actually sit and talk to the child and stimulate the child with language skills. But here also you can see that most often they engage in watching their own episodes. So here, this is one pictorial representation I would like to give about what the parents are actually losing here. So here you can see that the mother is looking into the phone and the child is actually looking at the mother. So here parent-child interaction gets compromised in this circumstance. Parents less often respond to their child, and also the eye contact is sort of disrupted. With this, also the natural learning abilities of the child is going to be inhibited. So that can have an impact on their social development. And finally, I would like to address that the mother is actually going to lose a lot of information about the child's growth observations. So, problematic use of electronic media and interruption of parent-child interaction will actually have a huge impact on children from the age range of 1 to 5 years, and this can be a bi-directional situation, because when a child who is having behavioral problems are exhibiting a lot of tantrums, the mother might get frustrated at one point and they want to spend their time by using any of these devices. The opposite way of thinking it is, maybe too much of usage of parents leads to low responsiveness that can impact the child by having behavioral difficulties. So some of the most common impacts of screen time are it has a huge impact on the child's brain. So I'm not going into details of the functions of these centers in the brain, but I would like to say that cognitive skills of the child can have a lot of problem through extra use or overuse of media at very young age. So there are some reward centers that I would like to give you a small idea. So most of you play Candy Crush. So Candy Crush, I'll take it as an example here. So when a game is played, there are some neurochemicals in the brain that gets released and leads to this response called pleasure. So that pleasure is going to get saved in your memory in the brain in the respective centers, and the next time you will have a lot of motoric actions, or your attention towards that object is further increased. So the end result of this could be repeating the action. So this repeating actions is nothing but each time you're getting rewarded, so you're memorizing it and you're going to do it again and again and again. So that will finally result into addiction. So I just wanted to introduce this concept so that parents know what will happen if you're overusing a phone. So in certain children, we can also see that the negative impact can be frustration or conduct problems where they can exhibit anger or disobedience, attention and hyperactivity disorders, which also has an impact on their ability to learn language skills, and also some behavioral changes, like when you remove a phone from the child, they might come up with aggression or harmful behaviors, and also most often in children with ADHD, you can see that they are very prone to this gaming disorders, because they keep using this, keep changing the screen over and over. So it's constantly stimulating their brain. So the overuse of electronic media is doubled here. And sometimes parents also give away the phone, so that a phone or any gadgets in order to reduce this, some antisocial behaviors in children, like to calm them down or to preoccupy them. So that is yet another mistake that we are supposed to take care. And also academically, you can see that they might come up with poor grades, lower reading scores, dull thinking, some social problems, language deficits, and eating habits and sleeping habits also can be affected. We can see that most often they are not very interested in doing their homeworks. Children with autism spectrum disorder or any sort of social anxiety problem, they find their place of retreat in this kind of media usage. One of the study that was done in the US has revealed that greater than 30% of the children below 2 years, they have used tablets or smartphones at a very below 2 years. So 75% of those aged 8 years, they actually have this in their own home. So the results of this kind of a usage is that the creativity skills or the imaginative skills and motor and sensory development of the child is going to be diminished. Taking a quick view on language skills, we see that children often view cartoons, and some of these cartoons are found to be really good, where they actually look into the screen and the children actually perceive that the cartoon character is looking at them. So they build that eye contact concept. However, the language skills can still be at risk, because they pick up the accent of these kind of cartoons, or they start talking like a child, And also the social use of the language, which we refer it as pragmatics, where the ability to request, ability to seek help and empathize, these kind of skills might not be that great. And also the mother tongue, where most of these cartoons are in foreign languages, so the child might pick up that languages faster. But when it comes to mother tongue, when the child has to fulfill certain family requirements, that might not be very much fulfilled in these kids. So toddlers who are having 2 hours of exposure per day have 2.7 times risk of language delay, as per the study done in 2015. We engage ourselves in a lot of video calls where family members from different places, they get to meet the child or get to meet each other. But are we really seeing when we do it face to face? When it comes to face interaction, the child is very much engaged in their own activities. They don't really seek interest in coming forward. So like I mentioned, the exposure to the motherese language, where they simplify the language to the child, they're found to be lesser in these when the child is going to use a lot of screen. So naturally it has an impact on their expressive skills also. So this can often lead them to poor language development, and that has an impact even in their social isolation. One more important thing I would like to introduce is problematic interactive media use. This is nothing but where the child is going to have compulsive use of mobile phones, that none of the other stimuli are going to have an impact on them. So when you remove the phone, the child might come with a lot of aggression, and so this can go unnoticed at a very young age, though it is going to be there in below 2 years of age itself. When they start coming up with physical problems, academic failures, that is when you understand the child might have this kind of a problem. So these children always seek a lot of immediate rewarding. So as soon as the child does something, the child is requiring a lot of rewards. So exposure below 2 years can have a lot of behavioral and language problems, and they also can tend to miss school days because they are very much using this kind of social media, and they tend to miss some of their school days also because of this. Some pro-social behaviors like helping, cooperating in a situation, or understanding and empathizing to some situations might be poor in this child. We can often see them fighting with a lot of fellow students and teachers. So naturally, the signs that you should notice as a parent is the face-to-face neglection will be there, where sitting next to each other, the child might not look at you, and poor academic interest or low interest in any of the things like eating, sleeping, or speaking to people, or getting into social gatherings, or when you remove the phone, you can see a lot of temper tantrums and poor peer relationships. All these are to be noticed in this age. So other consequences can be technique posturing, where you can see the posture of this child. It's going to be a big problem in the future. And vision problems, childhood obesity, sleep deprivation, and oppositional defiant disorders. So media use and behavioral difficulties are interrelated. So therefore, the early use of mobile phones and computers, as well as early signs of behavioral difficulties or language problems, these should be very much taken seriously, because you have to maintain the child's well-being. So ideal recommendation is below 15 years. Try not to give any screen exposure to the child, but considering the current scenario, parents need to moderate. That as ma'am had told in her previous presentation, how to place the child when you are using any media. So even as speech therapists, like I mentioned, we use some communication devices to treat communication devices. Okay, communication devices. So that has to be optimally used, and parents are also supposed to observe any sort of problematic behaviors or any sort of language developmental problems in children who are using this screen. So ideally at this particular time, I would say that below 30 minutes per day will show lesser problematic behaviors compared to that of children who are using for greater periods. So emotionally also give the child adequate time, because if they're crying, if they're laughing, just to keep the child quiet, you cannot use a phone as a media, because parents themselves have the capability, or their ability to uh, attend to the child emotionally. So that also has to be considered. And accept the child's skills, and reinforce the child's skills, and also attend to their language behaviors very excessively. So also in this place, Pennsylvania, in 2013, they introduced this concept of digital diet. This is nothing but how you reduce the food addiction. You keep a diet. The same way, to reduce the use of these phones, you need to schedule certain time durations, and digital diet is one option that they have put forward. So I would like to end the talk with this beautiful quote. So to be in your child's memory, you have to be in their lives today. So thank you for listening.
A brief overview about the consequences of overuse of gadgets, and also for highlighting how parent-child interaction could be compromised when there is increased hours of prolonged hours of exposure to screens. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. Okay. So at least few of you will be confused about how to engage your child. That is not good. For those of you who are confused, please attend tomorrow's talks, because there are exciting sessions coming up. We'll be including a lot of activities on how you can convert natural environment. So please kindly attend the talks. Tomorrow we have 2 talks. Log in by 9.
Natural talk is not yeah. Yeah. Actually, what I was thinking, okay, like towards the end, my charge got over, okay, and the last 3 slides, just finish it, please.